Welcome to the Perspective Podcast, where we embrace open dialogue from different perspectives about entrepreneurship, relationships, and education.
And this open dialogue is needed, especially today, as we live in a Twitter finger society where everyone seems to care more about getting their point across than they are about hearing the other person's perspective.
If you're ready to grow your business, your relationships, and your personal development, stick with us here at the Perspective Podcast, because sometimes in life, to get to the next level, you just need a different perspective.
If I look like what I've been through, I'd be roadkill. Tell me off of the pavement, I'm reeking from the...
All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Perspective Podcast. I'm C. Muzan. Got T here with me. Say what's up, T.
What's going on, family?
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. We are here for another week. Hopefully all of you have been paying attention and have been listening to the past few conversations that we've had on the podcast. They've been enlightening, right?
Yes.
They've given people some things to think about and some things to talk about. So if you haven't checked them out yet, go in, check out some of the past couple ones. We've had some quality conversations and given some quality perspectives. And as always, we want to continue to hear your perspective. Last week, we talked about marriage and relationships. So that's always an interesting one.
Big topic.
Absolutely. But we're back this week. Again, want to share another perspective. I was watching something, T. I meant to tell you this off air. I was watching, feel like it was a Kevin Hart on The Breakfast Club, and he said something that I'll wind up clipping and sharing because it explained exactly why we do this podcast. He literally said it like word for word, that like we're living in this time where it's, you're right, I'm right, you're wrong, like this back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And really all of this is really just about learning someone else's perspective, being okay to hear someone's opinion and say, okay, I maybe agree, maybe I don't agree, but It doesn't mean I hate you. It doesn't mean that we can't be friends. It doesn't mean I have to pull you down or I'm against you. It literally just means you have a different opinion. And it's just always refreshing to hear that's the reason we do this podcast, is so that
absolutely
we can get out other perspectives. And it doesn't mean one's right, one's wrong, but it's really.
Can we use that like on our intro, like commercial clip? And I don't know, we just like I don't know how that works, right? We just Kevin Hart gets it. Yeah. Like that, maybe that's what we do. We like that Kevin Hart gets it, and then we do it in like Perspective Podcast. Like he gets it, almost like an association.
Maybe. And we're from Philly. I'm from Philly, so like
you have an association. Yeah, and I hate the Eagles, and he hates the Cowboys, so it's just perfect, right? Yeah, like one day we'll meet, and it'll just be fun.
It'll work. It'll work out. But again, that's why we do it, and that was just another reminder that we do this so we can hear the difference of opinion and different perspectives. Today, diving into a topic, another kind of futuristic topic, though, just thinking about the workforce. You and I, T, we talk a bunch about just kind of what's happening in society and the workforce and how things are changing. And man, the jobs that are around today will probably not be the jobs that are around in 10 years. Like our lives are moving so quickly and things are changing so rapidly that it's not even going to be feasible. Like the jobs that our children will be in, we don't even know what those titles are or what that's, what that's going to look like. I have a feeling of some skill sets that I think are going to be needed. And that's what we're going to talk about here, is just kind of like, what are your thoughts on what are the skill sets that are going to be needed in the future over the next decade? But yeah, let's kind of dive into that, because I got my thoughts, but I want to hear yours, T, like about kind of what you're thinking are going to be necessary skills.
Well, I'll start by saying, what we're talking about today, for anybody being like, oh my God, they're about to talk about everybody lose their job. Because sometimes like we go in pretty well, like on like, hey, be prepared, try to make sure you have the right skills. This has always happened in all of societies. Last time I checked, outside of when I used to live in Compton, I don't see people riding around on horses. Now, if you live in Compton, you know what I'm talking about. We still ride around on horses, right? Every now and then. But there is an industry for horses. So then that means there were sub-industries for people who used to come by and pick up the poop. There were sub-industries that were there around that used to make the horseshoes. There were sub-industries that were around that catered to watering holes and whatever else, like all these different things that catered around the mode of transportation, which was horses. Guess what? I don't know anybody personally that makes horseshoes. I don't know anybody that has a job that walks around the streets cleaning up horse poop. I don't know anybody that has that has watering holes. They build these fancy dancy watering holes for the horses. I don't know anybody that does that anymore. But I do know some car mechanics. I do know some people that sell cars. I do know people that market cars and design cars and build pieces and materials for cars. So while we're talking about this, what we're really talking about is with the uptick of technology, just like horse and buggy went away, with the uptick of technology, you got cars. Now we're going from even gas cars to electric cars and whatever else future you want to put out there. And it's only happening faster.
Bullet trains, right? And
trains. Like, I don't know anybody that builds train tracks.
Yeah. But
right
Elon,
now,
Elon is trying to do bullet trains like from
San Francisco to LA to yes. So again, now people that build train tracks are going to come again, but they're going to look at them differently. They're going to be different industrial type engineers, etc. So with all what we're saying is, do not allow, I guess for me, the fear that I have, right? And I hate to use the word fear. The concern that I have is people are going to, like, we have a society that is so, me and my wife are talking about this. What's the word I want to use? Expect so many things, like privileged, or I guess the better, entitled is the word I really want to use. Yeah. Entitled, that they're looking at business and employee relationship one way. And what they're realizing is they're fighting hard for something that their very own employer is trying to get rid of. Okay. And there's an entitlement where I think people are not going to be future pacing and future thinking, and they're going to get left behind fighting for like a bad relationship that should have been gone in the first place. Sure. And then it's just going to compound because technology is going to catch up and you're going to be messing around and be light years behind where everybody else is living. Yeah. And so I just, because people get so opinionated and so strong, like, I mean, even like the whole like fast food restaurant deal, right? Like fighting for the $15. Don't get me wrong. I understand. We live in a state where the minimum wage is still $7.25. Okay, $7.25. You can't live hardly anywhere in America off of $7.25, even working 40 hours a week. You would probably need like 55, 60 hours a week with that overtime just to live in the hood or out in the sticks. So I understand that, hey, needs to be certain markers. At the same time, I understand businesses that are out there saying, how can I hit my markers and cut my costs? Whoa. So that's just, I want to set that up, that this is always happening. And now you're able to do it faster than you were ever before.
Yeah. And because of that, we're looking at the shift in the skill sets that people are going to need.
You got to shift them.
You can't, and we've talked about this on the podcast before, you really can't fight technology. And that's what a lot of people try to do. A lot of industries try to do. They try to fight and push against technology and push against efficiencies. And that's one of the big differences between businesses and the employee, right? The business is thinking about efficiencies. How can we make this more efficient? How can we do more for less? How can we, add more value to the market without it affecting our bottom line?
Yeah, without much investment.
Yeah, right. Like, it's about efficiencies, but the employee is really just looking for work. They're looking.
Yeah, employees really actually don't mind it being inefficient, because then that means they just get more time. If you're selling time if you're selling your time for hours, I want it to be as inefficient as hell.
That's right. That's right.
Right? Because I can give you 40 hours and hardly do any work.
That's right.
Right? Like that's just being real. Like that's just
efficient. If it's efficient, what's going to happen is that person's going to get eliminated, and or they're going to go from being needed 40 hours to only being needed 20 hours.
Or that person got to get better to now, hey, I'm going to give you 40 hours, then what more can you do?
Right.
Like what more can you do? Because just doing this is only 20 hours worth of work. Right. Listen, people, I am the guy still in this position at an employer where these conversations are literally happening.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys, like, I'm just like literally, like I've been brought into the room, like, hey, you know that one position you got? I'm like, so me as a people person, I think of the position as the person, right? And I'm like, no, we can't get rid of that. And then they're like, no, take the person off the table. What do they do every day? And then you're like, well, they do this, they do that. And they're like, well, we added this technology, this technology, this technology. So technically they do their work at 75% of the time. So what are they doing for the other 25% of the time?
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I can maybe add this to this because they're trying to keep, because, you know, I'm thinking about the people and the family and everything else. Like I have people in my mind I'm thinking about right now. And then they were like, what if we just took Terell, we got an idea. What if we just took their 75% and spread it amongst everybody else? How much would it affect the other people's job? And we're going to pay everybody else a little bit more. And I was like, well, technically they could do this and do that. They were like, cool, see? Like, we don't actually need this position anymore. And I'm like, no, hold up. No, then it's over. Yeah. The position is gone.
That's it.
Unless that person has the skill set to be able to move over to the other thing, that position is gone.
Eliminating
this happens day to day. The pandemic amplified it. Oh my gosh, it amplified it. It made it happen faster. Something that might have been 3-4 years, it happened in 3-4 months.
That's right. And so we talk about this side of businesses having to adjust and saying, all right, well, we got to make this thing more efficient. We got to figure out how to still hit our numbers, still have a business that employs people.
Yes.
And the employees are thinking, man, I got to figure out a way to keep my hours, make more money, whatever the case is. And so you get this, you know, these two sides fighting each other. Hence why we're talking to, you know, the employees, like, it's time to retool yourself, because typically what happens is the business wins because they are who employs.
They're making a decision.
Yeah, they're making a decision. So you, as the employee, you got to retool yourself. You got to go in and start saying, I need to add new skills and new skill sets to my repertoire so I can stay employable, if that's what you wanted so choose to do. Right? It's about staying employable. So there's going to be a new wave of skills that you're going to need to stay employable moving forward. Right? It's not going to be the same things that you've had or that you learned from school or the work ethic. Those things, I'm sure they will be there, but they're not going to be in the same demand as some of these hard skills that I think that we're going to need. One of those things specifically, we were talking about this before, you know, coding. Just anyone that has a child under the age of 10, probably I'd say under the age of 12, if you don't have them in some form of coding as far as their like schooling curriculum, I really think you're missing the, you know, you're really missing the boat with this one. Right.
Look, here's the thing. How about this? I'll take it one step further. Your kids are already coding with their video games and you don't even know it.
And you don't even know it. They're literally getting programmed to program.
Roblox is nothing but coding. My kids have been coding since they were 5.
That's all it is.
Whatever.
That's all it is. And it's crazy because, you know, how subliminal is this? How much is this the powers that be come in and say, like, we know we're going to need some, so let's create these games that instill this in these children and actually give them this skill set. And this is what is going to be needed for the next 20 years. Like, I don't even know. Like, everything is moving digital. So when we talk about coding, anything that has a program to it, anything that can be programmed, whether it is a video game, whether we're talking NFTs, whether we're in the metaverse now, whether we're talking about software that's going to be needed for companies, they're going to need people that understand how to code those things.
Yes.
That is an industry that we should be gearing our children towards.
Yes.
We should be gearing them towards. And again, I'm never the one path is the way to go. I'm all about options, but we have to be the realistic options these days, which are still, for me, not going to be that college degree unless you're being an attorney or doctor.
That school better really put you in good network, and you better maximize that network, good representation, good skill, good development. Like it can't be you go to class and don't remember anything, walk away with a piece of paper and then be like, oh, look what I got in the market. Like that's going to be dead.
Those days are over. Hard skills. And so one of those areas, again, coding. I really think that that's going to be a huge, huge, huge thing, especially because of what we're seeing in the digital world.
Yes, I would give a skill that it's not a new skill. It's actually a very foundational skill that you're going to need, period. And that's the ability to be able to influence, period. Point blank and simple. At the end of the day, you have the machines. The machines are still built by people, right? If you can't influence yourself out of a paper bag by yourself, you are not going to, it's going to make it even worse, right? And even harder to really show that you have value, right? People's skills, as another way of saying it, is going to be so key because we're living more and more in a networked world. So relationships are going to be what actually position you. I'm actually reading a really good book right now called Barking Up the Wrong Tree. And it actually talks about, and I think I might have mentioned this like a week ago or so, whatever, but it's actually about talking about how they've studied like all these valedictorians over the years, and like none of them, like hardly any of them ever became millionaires. Right. Like all followed these structural rules within the school system of how to get an A. And then life isn't about how to get an A. Life is about what do you got? And they're like, well, I don't have anything. I just tell me what to do and then I'll go do it. And life doesn't work like that. And so it's literally the people who come out and say, well, you know what? I can get this person to buy from me, or I can get this person to hire me, or I can get this person and these people together to go do this thing. The people that have the network and ability to influence in a good way, I'm not talking about a negative, manipulative way, are the ones that literally are leading our society. These are the people that actually get above, if you will, a little bit of the technology because they always seem to be able to show value above the technology. So I cannot stress enough your ability to be able to articulate yourself, be able to influence, whether in a written form, spoken word form, or what have you, because that is so critical. I am where I am today, not because I'm actually skilled at it. I actually left one industry that I had 10 plus years of experience in to go to another industry that I can't even turn a wrench in. And the reason why they trusted me was I had the ability to be able to influence a group of people, regardless of industry. Yeah. And so far, we've been breaking records and being super successful so far in early on, but it didn't come from my ability to even know what they were doing every day. I'm learning, obviously it's a part of the learning. I'm not doubting or taking that away because there's a lot that I learned to be able to do something and have a conversation, but most of it came from, hey, let's talk guys, I have questions. Can you help me understand? Well, why are you doing it that way? All right, well, I mean, I'm not an expert, but the experts say you should say this instead of that. And they're like, oh, well, let's try that. And I'm like, boom, success, right? This is skills that are needed. These are the soft skills. We'll talk about hard skills. Chris gave you a hard skill, I'm gonna give you a soft skill, and we'll go back and forth. We'll ping it back and forth a little bit.
Yeah, and literally like those skills, I think are gonna be crucial for all of us moving forward, because school used to be about just memorization.
Yeah, you know, right. Can you get as much information and say it back at the time of the test?
That's it, right? Like that's what it was about. But now, because of technology, because of how quickly technology is moving, because of how quickly we can actually get answers, our brains have to work differently because we don't need to store that information anymore. right? Like that's the difference. Yeah, exactly. We have phones, we have the internet, we have so much now that I don't have to memorize the capitals of the states, or I don't have to. It's good information, yes. It's pertinent information, but I don't have to memorize it. Actually, what we'll need are people that know how to bring people together, because we're seeing our society fragmenting and kind of going into, I think we talked about this, going into this tribal nature, and right, I prefer this group, and these are the people that I like hanging out with, and these are my like-minded people. And we're going down this path where we're going to actually need the EQ, the empathy, the how to build relationships, we're going to need more training and more work on that side, because the world is seeming to pull us apart or put us into digital spaces where we can just stay at home and not go to, around people.
Not even go to work anymore.
Right.
Like
exactly.
some people just they used to have to go to the office every day. Now they're like, I don't even have to deal with people. I can stay at home in my little silo and deal with people socially and just get my job done.
Yeah. And so, and again, whether you think this is bad or good, right or wrong, none of that matters, right? You're entitled to your opinion of how you think, but really just looking at how this is going to play out, it's not going to go away, right? We're not going to go backwards away from technology. We're not going to all of a sudden be like, let's just shut all the technology down and let's go back outside and play. Like, it's not going to be that way. So we just have to start adapting to what is going to be coming in the future. And I really think that some ability to connect humans better and teach that is going to be a skill set that's needed.
Absolutely. Absolutely. It's as you were saying, Chris, the word that came to my mind was, you talked about like that memorizing, right? Now it's who's the most resourceful. That's really what you're saying. Resourceful, meaning I may not have the information, but I know somebody who does, or I know how to get access to it. And then the things that I need to memorize and keep locked in, I can go down a rabbit hole of information to become an expert in said field or said expertise or whatever, right? And so these are the things that are there. And so now we're talking like very high level. So now let's get into like some of these like jobs that are going to be in high demand. So we found an article. There's a bunch of articles out there, but we just picked one, right? Because it's probably gonna all have overlap of like the top 30 in the next 9 years by 2030. It's a Business Insider article. And so we'll start at the top, like 30. And now some of these things are going to be, they'll be like, oh, okay, that makes sense. And some of them is going to be like, interesting, right? So number 30, industrial engineers. It's going to be an uptick in demand, industrial engineers. And I'll just go down.
Industrial engineer is somebody that would build like
facilities,
railroads,
like
that type of stuff.
Industrial buildings. More space, more.
That makes sense.
Mean, think about that. Like, look, they talk about metropolitan areas. They're going to be called megapolitan areas. Like literally, like your state is looking to have megapolitan areas, meaning like, for example, I used to live in Phoenix. And so from Phoenix to Tucson, there's this like huge gap called the desert, right? And there's a big open space. It's like there's a nice 2-hour drive where it ain't really much of anything, right? Little small towns here and there. Pretty soon, by 2030, 40, you're not going to be able to tell the difference from the city of Tucson all the way up to Phoenix. It's going to be that much like city residential life development and people living in the area where it's going to be like one massive city like drive all the way through. This is Arizona in the desert preparing for it. You already see this in LA. You already see this in New York. You already see this in other, in Florida. But they're literally called megapolitan areas, meaning like they're just so big. They're just going to call it one big, huge operation, a big, huge area, if you will. So something to consider. So this makes sense why this would be there. Marketing managers. Marketing ain't going nowhere, y'all. Like it is what it is.
And if we stuck on marketing managers, marketing moving forward is going to look so different. One of the things that we talk about a lot of times, again, we don't understand what's happening with our children. Our kids are using these platforms and they're learning how to create content.
Yes.
Every child that has a phone or some form of a device is learning in some form or fashion how to create content, whether it's just a picture of themselves, whether it's a video, whether it's a TikTok, whether it's something funny. They're learning how to create content. That is what's going to run marketing for the next decade, is content, because we're on the internet. Now people are starting to see like, oh, content is everything. When now that we're digital and we're on the internet, like, and these kids are getting prepared for it if we allow them to keep going down this path and using their phone and creating content, and don't take those things away.
You're not taking the phone away from people.
Yeah.
You're not taking the phone away from people.
Yeah.
Look, my kids have had cell phones since 6 and 7.
Yeah.
Like more than half their life, they've had cell phones.
Yeah. My daughter is fully operating on all technology right now. Can use Alexa to find the show she wants, understands how to use the Fire Stick, has an iPad, understands how to play games on the iPad, has a cell phone, using my wife's phone.
Yep. Tablet, like as you said now, my 4-year-old fully rocking and rolling.
All of it. And so, I don't necessarily. So, and this is a dual, right? When I have this conversation with my wife, it's like, well, we do limit screen time, right? It's not okay to do it all the time and watch it all the time, but she should definitely be native in all these things, because where do we think she's headed? Like, that's what she's going to use. That's how she's going to work. Like, she's going to understand how to do these things so that she's prepared for society.
It's almost going to be like you teach them your ABCs. They're going to need to know how to functionally operate an iPad.
And it's funny enough that anyone that has young children, they'll see that's actually how their brain works. They actually figure it out very quickly. Right?
Yes, they do.
Oh, if I move my hand this, okay.
They're constantly testing.
Yeah, they're just figuring it out. And that is, I think, a great benefit to what we're seeing with technology.
Yes.
Outside of, again, the downside of social media and all that stuff, but like just the connectivity of how they're using it, I think it's important.
Absolutely. So keep going down this list. Computer support specialists, these are help desks, right? In DC, I've said it before, that free program, or not, well, it can be almost free, but the cheap program that Google does, the certification, you can go in DC with that certification and make like 50, 60 grand, like just with certification. Like right now you can have nothing going on, GED, go get the certification, and probably start working for like $40,000, $50,000. Like better than McDonald's, better than Amazon, better than everywhere else, like immediately with a certification and the ability to be able to do more.
And the fact that Google is the one that certifies you, and then all of a sudden you can step into one of the largest tech companies in the world and be like, hey,
possibly,
I got a certification from you. So like,
you could. They're just picking talent. Yeah. They're just, or you get the certification, you go somewhere else, and you're gonna always remember Google. Like you always remember Google. They gave you your in for $50 a month. Crazy. Human resource specialist. I'll kind of go through these quickly. Elementary school teachers. There's a lot of kids being born right now, so there's a conversation around school.
Technology will definitely disrupt the education space. We saw a glimpse of it in 2020. We're going to see way more of it over the next decade. Here's my thesis. I'll just put my 2 cents out there so it's on wax. Teachers and professors, educators, they have all of the leverage. Once they understand that the institutions no longer have the leverage, they're going to be teachers and educators that make way more money than they are asking for now. Because
that's a good point.
The way that this is going to work, I see it this way because this is how I would like it to work. So if I would like it to work this way, I feel like other people might want it to work this way. I would want my daughter to be, because again, trying to keep her out of the traditional education system, I would want to be able to pick the best math teacher, the best Spanish teacher, the best French teacher, the best STEM teacher. I would want to be able to hand select, not the institution, but the person, the individual that will train or teach my child. I want the ability to do that, and I will pay that teacher however much they charge to do that. And I believe that that is where we're headed, because the teachers have the leverage. It's no longer the school district or the area. It's like, I want you to be her math teacher because you're a great teacher.
Well, parents already fight right now to try to get their students in certain teachers' classes that they know about.
Yeah.
So yeah, and like it's like if you can afford to buy to purchase your kids' education a la carte from the district, like what? Like okay, I'll take you over there, and then they can do it virtually. Like my kid, like and you can be their best teacher virtually, and you as an educator know how to use technology to enhance how you teach. And then you can even charge more. You can upsell, say, I'll come to your home.
Those are the ones that are going to win. And that's why I'm saying like the education space will get disrupted by technology. That platform just doesn't exist yet. But as soon as that platform exists, where it's like, I can just hand select the best teachers in my area for the specific subjects that I want. I'm not even going to worry about my child going to this building. I'm just going to get them educated.
Now, the bureaucracy of it all, the red tape will be the only thing that holds you back to try to keep the institution having the control, right? Because then that'd be the hard part. Even like, because even with online school today, you got to go through like approved ones to still say you get your certification, you know what I mean, all that kind of stuff and whatnot. But if that loosens up and the teachers can be like free agents,
it has to listen. It has to go that direction, because the powers that be, the institutions can't hold this power forever when things start changing.
Well, let me ask you a question. Would you be okay with, like, okay, I'm gonna mix this here in for partly for just like funniness, but let's just say we're gonna compare this to OnlyFans, okay?
What a representation there. Children's learning. OnlyFans.
Meaning, like, no. Like, the teachers are the content creators. Mm-hmm. You go onto this platform that says we have all of these content creators, all of these teachers. Remember, when OnlyFans tried to eliminate the pornography side of it, they were just talking about people as musicians and artists teaching. So this is all on the platform, like, you know, the thought process. Yeah. And that's why I use it, because that was the foundation of what they were trying to do, and what they really were trying to do in the first place. Would you be willing, okay, to say, okay, I pay $100 a month. I'm just using that for example for this math teacher, Mrs. Kate. Miss Kate gets $100 a month from me. Now, Miss Kate, $25 goes back to the district because she's still associated with the curriculum that the district says the student needs, and she keeps her $75. Would you be okay with that from a funding of the school board? Because now the school board doesn't have to only rely on the state for money, or the state or the feds for money, because now the parents are literally paying it without it being taxed. Would you be all right with that?
I would be okay with that if the school board or if the district is doing something to promote, right, or give resources, because that's what OnlyFans does, right? Like, it gives the platform to be like, okay, if you want to go out and do this, you can. Well, the school, the district is going to have to give some type of, well, we'll give you incentives, or we'll give you material, or we'll give you this network of how to do it. Then absolutely. I just really think that the power is in the hands of the educator. The power is in the hands of the teacher moving forward over the next decade.
And good teachers will stand out, and bad teachers will not be able to just be able to touch hundreds of kids.
That's right.
Without, like, and
which
poorly.
Is the way it should be. It should be a merit-based thing. I don't want my child having 2 great teachers and 4 crappy teachers. Like, why am I?
Because of the school they went to.
Yeah, just because
you lived in that neighborhood.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense. Like, I should be able to do it, but yeah, that's going to be disrupted a ton once teachers really see they have the power. They just have to start thinking like an entrepreneurs and not thinking like employees on it, because it's been so long and so ingrained that this is the way that it works.
Benefits, bro, that's what you're going to have to fight against too with the teachers. And this might have to be a 2-part episode, just because I'm just thinking about, like, we only got to like 4 of the list. We have so many thoughts around this. But like, them school people don't go to work at the school district just because of the salary. They going for all the benefits, that 403B, that, that security, the school will be around. Yeah. So people are going to have to be able to.
But then they're fighting. We don't get paid enough. Pay us more. Our salary sucks. Okay, well, you got all these children and parents that you could go teach. You could make 5 times what you're making.
Oh yeah.
Give up the benefits and just know that this is the opportunity. And if somebody creates the platform for other educators to come on so they feel good about it because they have the market, then And again, I know there are some things like this out there. I'm doing this like already with my daughter. I don't get paid for this, but maybe we can endorse this thing called Outschool. Outschool is a similar platform right now where it's just teachers. You can go on there, you can find and pick what subject you want, and it's a list of teachers, and it's basically like online curriculum. Some of them are live, some of them are recorded, and you could just pay and have your child do that already. It's just,
what do you do? See, I'm just thinking this through now, right? Like, this is a good topic, and just in general, because what are we talking about here? Like, keep it in the framework. How education could change through technology,
right?
As a teacher, how you can come in.
The skill sets would change as a teacher.
Yes.
What will a teacher look like in 8 years versus now, right?
Correct. I just think about all the low income, because we're at a place in our life where we can't afford to go and pay for, let's say, maybe individual education. I got trees, so maybe I can't afford it yet, but you got wood, so maybe it's a little bit more affordable, right? Sure. But I'm just saying, like, let's say, like, we could. There's a lot of people in the hood that they happy that the school is free. They're happy, and then like, how to, like, another topic, another day, as we'll keep moving forward. Like, how do we also, if it did switch to that, what happens to those? Like, do they just get the crappy teachers at the end?
It's public education versus private education. We've all right.
This is the conversation we're having.
This conversation has been around how do we fund public education? It's through housing prices, right? Through real estate tax, right? So obviously low taxes, you're gonna get less money into you're
gonna get less type of teachers that want to work there. Yeah,
exactly, right? So if there was a way, because now we're virtual, that we break this whole system down, I don't need the inner city community that isn't getting funding because of low taxes in that area, or low real estate, or whatever the case is. Maybe now this is a virtual thing where it's not just on that district to control my child's learning. It's on a state level, potentially, because at the end of the day, if I live in inner city West Philly, or I live in Upper Darby, or whatever the case is, maybe that means that I have a chance to still get the same education because it's virtual now, and it's not just all around my school district and my vicinity, right? So it opens up the door a lot to changing. And this is what I mean by, when you disrupt an industry, like, everything gets broken. The way we think about the whole thing like is different. It's like, well, do we even need school districts? Do we? Like, what does a school district do? Like,
there's a lot. There's a lot to that conversation.
But that's the fun part of disruption, because it's like, you could just break it all down. Like, no, we don't even need this. No, we don't even need that person. Like, this whole thing doesn't even make sense. Let's just break this all away. And then all of a sudden, now we got this online state-run portal that the state, you get appointed by the state to be a teacher, to be an educator. You kind of rank it out. Like, there's
I don't even know if the state has a skill set to do that, but we'll keep moving on. There's some more stuff here. We got speech language pathologists. That's a really big one. I have a friend that does that. She does a phenomenal job. Industrial machinery mechanics. So we talk about industrial engineers. Well, you got to have mechanics once it's built. Right. What's another one? Electricians. Now, this was a fun one we were talking about offline. People are like, electricians? People have supercomputers now. People are mining out of their houses now. People are elves now, where they're just like growing their base of input and pull electrical input that's needed to run their machinery. Electricians right now are going to be so critical. Everything's running on computers. Everything's running on. There's no analog anymore, hardly on anything. That's right. I mean,
understanding about electrical currents and how much wattage is needed inside of a house or inside of anything safely. Exactly. I think it's going to be a huge skill set moving forward. So
and I'm in this industry, if you will, electricians, plumbing, HVAC. Like, you can put all of them in, like, they're like home services. Like, you're gonna need all that. Then you're gonna still need, if you're gonna be home, you're gonna need the AC. And if you're gonna be home, the water gotta run. When you hit that switch, you're gonna want it. Are you gonna want it clean, soft water? The water's like, there's so many things around that, man. Like, just, and this is high school diploma. You don't even gotta have a degree for this.
Yeah.
And in some states, you don't even have to have a license to do it either. That's the crazy thing. Like PA, you don't have to have a license for that. So, substance abuse, behavioral disorder, and mental health counselors. I know you perked up when we talked about this.
Because I said this was going to be a big one. I was just having this conversation with my mom and talking about the ramifications of the pandemic and really what's going to come out of this. Because when you're living in something, you're in it. You don't know what the ramifications are. When you really kind of scope out and zoom out, we're just a blip in history. Right? We're just a little small blip in time where if you look back at history books, you can see, oh, this was the catalyst of this. Like when this happened, for the next 4 years, this was what happened in society. We just don't know that yet. But I think that this mental health, substance abuse, that conversation, we're going to reimagine and redefine what this looks like over the next 3, 4, 5 years. Because
when the doctors are prescribing it and getting people addicted, well, they say they are, but you know how it goes. Like, the big pharma is the doctor. I don't know.
CBD now, cannabis coming into the mix, right? Like we're living in this time where it's like, okay, like we have more access to, the conversation around, cannabis and CBD and its introduction to children. Because of how alcohol is introduced to children and those things, like it's going to change our dynamic a bit. If we probably go back and look at prohibition time and maybe what happened, there are probably kids that used to drink back then and had some effect on their life.
Well, look at cigarettes. That was our age. That was the backdrop of cigarettes with us.
Yeah, tobacco. That's so true, right? Like that happened. But I just think that we're going to redefine kind of what mental wellness looks like. What rehab looks like. I made a joke of like, there's going to be working moms, like outpatient rehab facility that becomes like a nice chain that just becomes what people know.
Like massage envy.
I was about to say that. Literally, that's it. Like the massage envy of mental health or like addiction recovery. That side of things. Like they're
just stop in. Stop in.
Listen, you drop your kids off. Right, you got this extra hour, come in, meditate, sit, relax, therapy, talk it through. Hey, here's some things. All right, out the door, but you come here every day type of thing.
Bro, I just thought, like, look, I'm not gonna lie. So I got this, so it's called Trip. It's a VR app because, I'm playing the VR world. And I think I'm winning my bet that we made 3 years ago about the adoption of it.
I need something catastrophic to happen. So
no, I called it. But anyways, I'm going to dive. But it's called Trip. And it's literally a meditative app. And I paid for it $20 for the year, right? So think about that. I paid $20 for the year. And it's called daily meditation. And that's one of the features of it. It has a bunch of stuff, but it helps you focus and everything else. And literally it starts off, Chris, you're there and you're just like in this metaverse and you're just in this world and it's all these beautiful things going on. And it's just a soothing voice talking to you. And then it's just like, what's your mood right now? Like, how do you feel? And then you have all these lists of things. You're like, I feel agitated, and like on a scale of 1 to 10, doom. Then it takes you through. And literally, bro, like my mind started wandering. And it was literally like, if your mind's wandering now, let's focus it back. And I was like,
bring it back to breath.
But it was literally, it communicated as my mind did. Like the tech was so good. It knew when a mind would wander. Then it has you like breathe in and you can see like energy go in and it's like breathe out and it's like match your breath. And then literally you start seeing yourself breathing. And by the end of it, bro, I was like, I started off at a 7. I got to the end and it was like, how do you feel now? And it was literally like, I was like, oh, I feel calm. I feel relaxed. And it was like, on a scale of 1 to 10, I was like 9. And it goes, Terell, in 5 minutes, you have increased your mood by 20%. Congratulations. Yeah. And I was just like, yo, like I was really like, okay, like it caught my attention. Yeah. Imagine now, like you talk about, you have this bar like this little, and you just need a moment, and you can bloop, put them on and just go. And it's like a jolt of coffee. It's like a jolt of relaxation, a jolt of meditation. Like you can market that so well, bro.
Holistically getting healed, holistic wellness.
On the fly. Yeah. Ooh, what I think, hey, let's cut that part out so nobody hears that. These are ideas. We're gonna cut that part out. Holistic healing on the fly. Like, and you just have like little like pop-up shops all around the city, and people can pop in, and then you can always just blame it on them if they don't feel better. Like, oh no, it was just you weren't focused.
This is where we're headed. And for everyone that's listening, you know, T and I are just brainstorming and throwing out again ideas of opportunities and things, but this is where we're headed. I hope everyone understands.
Yes.
Like the fact that we got to this point of mental health, mental wellness, you know, recovery, rehabilitation, like that side. This is going to shape the next decade. Yes. Because of where we are as a society. One of my friends, my wife's old classmates, she's in the mental health space, mental wellness space, and she's like, it's in hot demand right now. These companies are throwing patients and money at me. So she's like, I gotta take it. And she like taking other jobs and other positions as a mental health professional, as a therapist, to be like, these companies are just like sign-on bonuses, like preferred.
There's so much money.
They're throwing tons of money at all these therapists, which is just an inkling of, you know, whenever people start throwing a bunch of money at something, the industry is going to bubble up. There's going to be now courses of how to become a therapist and how to become a da-da-da. And then over the next 10 years, you're going to see this demand of like, oh, wow, we need therapists. And it's going to change. Somebody's going to come out with what we're talking about. If it's not us, which it can be, right? Look out for it.
Yeah.
But if it's not us, somebody's going to come out with this kind of drive-through meditation model.
Like, and you think about it, what we're talking about. You don't need a lot of people. You're not seeing a therapist. You're leveraging technology, VR, virtual, or the apps that are there. You can get co-sponsored with them to take people through this, and you just have people there just there to greet. And you maybe have one person on site as a therapist, if like really needed, that you could charge a premium for.
Yeah, couple workers. But goes back to, I mean, this might be a good way to kind of put a pin in this and come back to
it. We're going to come back because we only got through 9 of them. So.
Yeah, but this is the way that people's jobs are eliminated too. Think about the typical massage envy that needs 2 hostesses at the front desk, a receptionist, 3 masseuses, and the cleanup person. They need 9, 10 people to run that thing. Now you got this one where you just go into individual rooms, you can put this mask on, you only need 1 person at a time to service all of them, and maybe 1 therapist on and 1 person to clean. Maybe you need 3 people in that building versus 9. Cut labor down, all because of technology.
And how about this? I'll throw another loop in there, and I could throw in a high quality massage chair and a high quality water massage system. That if you need the physical, because some people are kinesthetic, right? They need the physical aspect of it as well. And you can go in there, massage, get a quick 15-minute chair massage or water massage in like a little tunnel, and then come out, put the goggles on, relax. You ain't got to change your clothes. You ain't got to do nothing. You could just pop right out on your lunch break.
These are quality ideas, man. These are quality ideas. But this is where we're headed, ladies and gentlemen.
Who would do it?
I know.
My wife would do. I know. If she had a spot, she could pop in for 45 minutes, 30 minutes, and just like go from a 7 to a 9 or from a 5 to a 7. That could be life changing. And I pay $50 a month or $100 a month for it. Come on.
I'm telling you. And most importantly, the demand is going to be there because of where we're at in our society.
Yes.
With all the mental illness things that are happening, the wellness things that aren't being paid attention to, but then are starting to come out now, the information, the conversation, this is what I say about money. A lot of times money and this mental illness, mental wealth, mental health conversation, mental health is now on the rise. So more people are talking about it. Money is still, people are thinking about it, but we're not talking about it as much. And now we're starting that conversation too. But the more we start talking about these things, the more we're going to have breakthroughs, new industries, sub-industries, other skill sets that we start using just in these places. So there's a lot here. I know we might want to put a pin in this one.
Oh no, we can come back to this one. Because we only got through 10.
Yeah.
We only got through 9 or 10 of them. So we got 30.
We got 30. and we probably have some more ideas on all the rest of those 20 that we haven't gotten through. And
we ain't even going into the study by the Oxford Martin School of the jobs that are 50% of jobs are at risk. And they have a report built out, and you just literally put in digitally your job title, and it tells you how soon your job is going to be eliminated. Yeah. We're going to throw that in on there too. So
like I heard a stat that said by 2030, what is it? 40% of jobs are going to be automated.
The ones that are $20 or less right now.
Yeah. So, guys, this is the reason why we want to have the conversation. It's our perspective, yes, but this is the changing times. We're curious what you're seeing out there. This is what we're seeing. And, T and I are relatively on the same page about what we're seeing in this change in technology and upgrading your skill sets and really adding value. What is your value to the marketplace? You know what I mean? Not just your value as a human being. You're all loved, right? We're all equal under God's eyes, right? Like those things are fine. You have value as a person, but the value you bring to the marketplace, the value that you supposedly want to get paid for, that value, you're going to have to upgrade your skill sets over this next decade, because there's going to be things that we don't even know, that we haven't even seen, that are going to be major positions that your children or you will be able to dominate in. And we just want to get you prepared for it, right? We want to
listen. And I'll say this, and I'm glad you brought that up, and I'll end with this. The Bible talks about being the salt of the earth, right? You ever had some food and it was missing salt? It's pretty nasty. But then if you just add a little salt, all of a sudden, all these wonderful flavors of the food come out. Everyone has their own special gift. Everyone has their own special talent or things that they are passionate about, that they can bring value. When we say value, how do you help other people with what you have? If you don't ever perfect it or work towards perfecting it, and perfection meaning it never stops, you're always trying to get better, to show people like, hey, this is what I can bring to the table. It's like having a meal without no salt. That's what it's like. It's like, and when people don't have that, they don't go back to that restaurant. So if you want people to keep coming back to the restaurant, if you will, we both like food, right? Chris is the chef and my wife's the chef and I like eating. So, right? Like if you want people to keep coming back to the restaurant, what's your salt? You're the salt of the earth, right? And talk about that. What flavor are you bringing? What are you bringing out of? And the beautiful thing, salt just brings something out. It makes everything else better. That's the thing. It brings out the natural flavors of other things. So with that being said, how are you going to better this planet with your special gift? That's all. That's really what we're talking about here, right? And being able to see in the future what gift is going to be needed, and you can associate with it. That's it.
We just want you to be prepared. We want you to be equipped. We want you to understand that the world is moving and things are changing. And we just want to make sure that you're seeing it with the right perspective, right? We just want to make sure that you're seeing it with a clear perspective. There's no right or wrong.
We'll say a perspective, right? Because people like, you said right perspective, and you started off by saying it ain't no right perspective.
There's no right or wrong perspective, but we just want you to have some clarity on your perspective, right? Some clarity on it. And so we will put a pin in this one, and we'll do this next week. We'll come back in, and you guys will finish up this list, and we'll talk about some of the other areas that you can continue to increase your skill set in and grow in, so that you can provide for your family and really flourish, and really get to that next level in life. So that's all we got for this week, man. It's been a good one. Till next week, we're signing off for the Perspective Podcast.
Chris got like 30 podcasts.
I know.
He pauses every time. I'm just going to call him out on it. I'm going to call him out finally on it. He has like 30 podcasts, y'all. So he got The Good Life. He got Real Estate, the Property Players. He has The Perspective. He got a lot. So I'm not as fancy as Chris. I just run this one. I had another one before, called the Journey Podcast,
you got to get it back going,
revamp
man.
That.
Yeah.
I may revamp that. Country Wayne actually inspired me to start putting out more content. Actually, it's funny enough, but that's another conversation for another day. It's in line here, but Country Wayne really has been inspiring me lately. I've been watching all his interviews as he's going around. So I've been like, he's right. I was like, okay. So anyway.
However you get the message. From a comedian, from an entertainer, from a businessman, however you get
it's just a build on, right? Like these are things you've been talking about for a while, and and then other people, and then like Country Wayne, because I like Country Wayne. How about the Cowboys? That's my guy right there.
Right.
And next thing you know, I'm like listening to him, and I'm like, he's on to something.
Yeah. Listen,
and it's still so early. Like I thought it was late, but it's actually still early. So the shout out to Country Wayne. I don't know how he got on this podcast episode, but shout out to Country Wayne.
Shout out
he's doing his thing.
He is, and content is king, and the long tail of this internet we haven't even seen. So let's keep doing the content, and we'll rock out until next week, guys. Signing off. Take care.
Cool.